But didn't you open your collections?
Yeah, no, we're yesterday we went to the pharmacy museum because we have this flood and we're working on we are throwing things away and we are keeping ready for the opening. We're working on the protocols because in Spain the Institute for Conservation did a good job, so we have the guidelines.
You open your collections?
So this is nice.
We're live.
Mute you, Marta.
Yeah, I know, sorry. Okay, look, we're live, all right?
Okay,
we are live. So it's kind of like the rehearsal of the orchestra, you know, when you arrive at the concert and, you know, the instruments are already playing.
Yeah, okay. Do you want us to sing?
That's what happens. Yeah, but I wanted just to confirm that we could do this on the exact spot. So we did it. Now I know it. So it will be just this one.
Yeah, professional.
Yeah, look, I'm getting an IT degree, you know, aren't we all? I mean, I think all of us are getting IT degrees now.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy.
But Isabel, it's also very interesting if you think you can, because of your position within the university, I think it might be interesting also to, if you are working on a protocol, to say how do you know.
More than that, we are working on a course online for the directors of the collections. So they do the theoretical part online. And then in September, we're going to have the practical session on one of the museums, because I think they have to be prepared for this and for preventive conservation basic measures. So yesterday we have a meeting with the Institute for Conservation. They wrote a guide in Spanish, but I told them that it has to be more practical because, you know, the collections are mostly scientific. So it's, I mean, it's difficult to understand if you know, it's easier for artistic collections because they're more rich and there are more materials, but for scientific collections, they're not so much. So we're working on that, and I think it's going to be a good course.
That's a very interesting point. So I'm going to give you I'm going to ask you to say something.
Okay, but today I say, well, I'm gonna go and listen because I think it's very interesting. I watched the first video you did in Universeum, and it's nice to hear what the other colleagues say. So it's very nice. I like to listen.
Okay. So Suzanne, I see there is a Suzanne.
Suzanne with the audio on.
Oi, boa tarde, tudo bem? Sou Susan, do Brasil, do Museu da Moda de Belo Horizonte.
Ok.
So,
Susan, tem que falar inglês.
Sim, ok. I'm Susan from Brazil, Susan Barnes. I work at Fashion Museum in Belo Horizonte, Minas Gerais.
Oh, nice.
Did we met when I came like 2 years ago with Marta on a specific the national meeting on university museums?
Did you stay in Brazil 3 years ago?
Belo Horizonte. Yeah.
Did you visit the Fashion Museum of Belo Horizonte? MUMO, Museu da Moda, in a historic building, neo-Gothic.
I think he was not there. I think he was not there, Susan.
No.
No, I don't. What did you attend there? A specific event?
Yeah, it was a second, or was it? No, there is. You do have a national conference on university museums each year in Brazil. No, Marta, help me with that.
Yes, it was the the network, the meeting of the network of Brazilian, a rede de museus universitários do Brasil, que reuniu, met in 2000, so it's 2 years
the
ago.
university.
At the university, UFMG. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I attend, but very few presentations. So, and then I went to the History and Natural Museum to a meeting there. So I knew you there. Now I remember.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Susan, perhaps, and Christy. Christy, where do you come from? Where are you exactly at the moment?
I'm in the US and the Georgia Museum of Art in Athens, Georgia, and we're with the University of Georgia, part of their campus.
Okay, and you are inside the campus?
Yes.
So you're closed at the moment?
Yes.
Okay.
But we're preparing to reopen.
Oh,
yeah.
Very important. Yeah.
Can you put the light on, Christy, because we can't
Yes.
really see you.
We don't see you very well.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry,
yeah.
because it's very early for you. So
No,
it's not. What time is it? I don't
It's,
know. Like
yeah, it's 12 noon.
it's
Okay.
noon. Yeah. It's early for the East Coast, for the West Coast. Yeah, for California. It's in fact, we had some people from Berkeley this morning because it's night for it's you know, it's not the same day, but it was late for them before going to bed.
Okay.
So it was fun. But we have to do this otherwise it would be 3 o'clock in the morning for somebody. So that's why we do this divided into, and also there's another reason. The reason is that we want to keep it kind of the conversation, not so, not so many people, like 90 people, 200 people, and then you would not be able to participate. If we keep it on 40 people maximum, then it's a good size for a nice, meaningful conversation. Silke Ackerman.
Hey, Silke.
Hello.
Hey.
Marcelo. Hello. So good to see you.
And you?
Are you in Oxford?
Yes.
Wonderful.
And you are where? In Lisbon?
I'm in Lisbon. And Sébastien is the star of today's session. And he's in
Sebastian is
Strasbourg.
always the star of this session or any
every
other.
Every session is the star. Oh, mind you, we're already live on YouTube. Okay, so let's moderate our
Let's be
whatever self, but that's what we're going to moderate.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever self is always good to moderate. That's a very good point. Kirsten, our star of next year, our meeting. We're so looking forward to go to Dresden. Oh my God, it's going to be so great. Yeah. I miss Dresden.
You do?
There are some cities, there are some cities in confinement where you kind of, for the most part, I think it's going to be good. We're going to travel less, also for the carbon footprint and so on, blah, 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 yada, 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 yada. But
you still want to go to Dresden.
When we think we'll be confined, we kind of think of our favorites. We kind of miss cities, And Dresden, for me, is one of the cities I kind of miss in anticipation for not being able to, hopefully next year, we will be there. Dresden, I love Dresden. I really, really do. And Rio also, and Minas Gerais, and Madrid, and Strasbourg. Okay. Oxford too. Hello, Tatiana, where are you? Tatiana, are you there? Where in the world are you? She's not there. She went for a coffee or something.
We've got from Sao Paulo.
Oh, okay, São Paulo. Okay, one of the things, Museu Paulista. Welcome. University Museum, a very big university museum. University of São Paulo. And now we have Gilbert again from Lebanon.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Very good. It's all right, Tatiana, don't worry. Use the chat whenever you want. We have more people coming now. Erin Bradford, where are you exactly?
I'm at the Davison Art Center in Wesleyan University, and that's in Connecticut in the US.
Wonderful. So it's not very early for you. It's okay.
Yeah, this is.
Are you at home or at the museum proper?
We are working remotely right now as the university is closed. So I am home, able to do some work, which is nice.
Which is nice, yes. And Francisca Figels, where are you from? Where are you staying?
I'm from Brazil.
Brazil?
Eu sou brasileira.
Okay, where in Brazil?
Universidade de São Paulo, Museu de Arqueologia e Etnologia da Universidade de São Paulo.
Archaeology and Ethnology Museum of the University of São Paulo. You can also use the chat to introduce yourself, and I will invite you to, although Sébastien will also ask you to say your name at least. You can also rename your handle, you know, for example, Silke says, Silke's iPad. Maybe you cannot change that. Maybe you cannot change that. Yeah, but maybe.
Would I ever say no to you, Marta?
Okay, if you go to participants, you can rename yourself, right? Yeah. I Jess from Lagos, the largest city in Africa. Is it the largest? I'm not sure it's the largest. Probably. Are you listening to me, Jess? There's Elena Corradini also.
Hi, Elena.
Hi, Elena.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Come va?
Hi, Elena.
It's so comforting to see familiar faces, isn't it?
For me too.
Ooh, but your sound is not so good. I'm going to mute you. Delphine is about to enter. Hi, Delphine.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
You're at home.
Absolutely. Home working.
You're working. Very good. Does it work with those things, you know, call center kind of?
Yeah, it's better. Otherwise, with the noise around, so it helps me.
Okay, great. Right. So we're already live on YouTube. I'm so proud that the UMAC has a YouTube channel. I'm really, really proud. And so we're already there. And but it's just like when you go to a concert and you know, the instruments are, you know, there's lots of noise and so on and music, and they're, you know, practicing before the orchestra, you know, before the symphony begins. That's us at the moment. So I'm still admitting a lot of people. Hi, Lisette. Hi, Georgiana. Hi, Georgiana. Where are you, Georgiana? I think she left. Who is? Okay. Yeah, there is somebody where it's okay. Carmen, I will mute you. Okay, I already did. So who else just arrived? Georgiana, where are you exactly at the moment? Melanie, where are you?
Hi, I'm in the UK.
In the UK, okay. And at home or in some museum?
No, I'm at home, but the museum is the History of Science Museum in Oxford.
Okay, so it's Silke dragged everyone. Very good. I love that. And who else? Erin, did I ask? I think so. Erin, I asked. Carmen, where are you? Carmen, where are you? In Brazil, right? I think I remember you. Yeah.
Yes, from Brazil, São Paulo. I'm at home.
You're at home.
We are not working yet.
Yeah, and I see Jill Dilpy. So good to see you. Where are you, Jill? Tell us. Oh my God, so sophisticated. No, you have to unmute yourself. Yeah. Wait. No, wait. We're not listening.
Unmute. There we go.
There you go.
You caught me eating my lunch in Miami, Florida. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
The start of next week. So next week you will be moderating this webinar, the third webinar. But so I hope it's good to have you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, and I see Laura Perez Gil. Where are you, Laura?
Hi, I am in Curitiba, in Brazil.
Brazil, lots of Brazilians, very good. Already last week we also had people from Argentina, Colombia. I don't think we have them yet. If you do, let us know. Jeffrey, Yoshimin, where are you?
I'm in New Haven, Connecticut, at the Yale Art Gallery.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
And yeah, I think we're going to start our webinar today. So I would ask you to show yourselves, even if you're eating lunch, just put the lunch aside for a moment.
Go record?
Yeah, just put so that we can have a very nice, photo of all of us. And then we can disconnect, and you should actually disconnect the videos and disconnect the videos. It doesn't matter really. It's mostly the sound that introduces some noise in our conversations. And so let's have a photo.
Please, you go start the record.
I will start it when I say it's already live on YouTube, but we're going to record when I say like good afternoon and so on. And that's when we start, when we kick off. Okay, so everyone, Susan, can you show yourself, Tatiana and Erin? And then we'll have a photo. Very good. Very nice to see you. Okay, here we go. Susan, thank you. Right. So, good afternoon and good morning, good evening, UMAC community here on Zoom and following this live on YouTube or anytime, anywhere in the world. I'm delighted to welcome you to our second webinar of our UMAC post-lockdown series, for lack of a better name, where every Friday we discuss one topic of relevance to university museums and collections, as so many of them across the world reopen to the public, or at least are planning to. I think it's important that we acknowledge the suffering, loss, isolation, and grief that the COVID-19 pandemic has caused in so many of our communities, perhaps even our families and friends, while at the same time recognizing that museums and culture have a very important role to play because they bring people together. The mysterious connection museums establish with the eternal, the imperishable, and that we ourselves also establish through museums makes them outlive pandemics, political moments, economic recessions, violence, wars, and other ephemeral dimensions of daily life, including the material life of things and ourselves, our own bodies. So without further delay, let's move on to today's topic, which is reopening collections. Some of the questions we want to address are, is your university museum resuming access to collections post-lockdown? What safety measures are you implementing? Do you plan to quarantine specimens, artifacts, manuscripts, and books post-access? What impact did COVID have on your collections policy, if any? And also, are you collecting COVID objects, whatever that means and is? And I'm grateful to our moderator today, Sébastien Soubiran, Deputy Director of the Jardin des Sciences, University of Strasbourg, and President of Universeum, the European Academic Heritage Network. Thank you so much, Sébastien, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Marta. Hello, everybody. So I think that because we're not that many, it will be nice. We already started to introduce each other, but maybe we can, because not everybody was there at the same time, maybe we can have a very, very, very quick introduction. I'm going to ask you to just say your name and your institution, if you don't mind, and then we can move on with. If anyone wants to say something at first, or otherwise, I'm going to moderate and ask any one of you to answer the question Marta just raised. So please, maybe we can start with Isabel.
Good afternoon to everyone. I'm Isabel Garcia from Spain, from the Complutense University of Madrid. I'm the Vice Rector of Culture and Sport and University Extension, and I'm responsible for 30 museums and collections, 30 museums and 16 collections, and I will talk of our plans for opening that is very, very not difficult, but we're working on that. I will talk about it later. Thank you.
Okay. Christy?
I'm Christy Sinkson. I'm in the USA. I'm at the Georgia Museum of Art, which is on the campus of the University of Georgia. And I'm Associate Registrar there.
Marcello?
I am from Brazil, from Rio Grande do Sul, University Museum, a Universidade Federal do Rio Grande do Sul at Porto Alegre. But now I am in Rio de Janeiro. I work with science, technology, heritage, and in the museum. Sorry for my English, is very bad. I understand, but for works for my language is Spanish or Portuguese. But the collection of museum is a documental and photographic collection. It's closed, and now I have a group for students reopening the collections. Orientation for us make the opening the museum for the research, for the public.
Matthew, just a quick presentation, and then afterward, I'm going to give you again the.
Okay.
You can talk afterwards to tell more about what you're planning to do. Kirsten.
Hi, I'm Kirsten Vincenz. I'm the director of the Office for Academic Heritage, Scientific and Art Collections in Dresden, Germany, as Marta already told you at the beginning. And looks like we will be hosting the next UMAC Museum conference, which wasn't planned that way, but now, and I'm really very much looking forward to seeing you all in Dresden next year.
Thank you, and we are also very much looking forward to it, because it will be the first opportunity for us all, UMAC and Universeum, to meet together, hopefully. Elena. from Italy.
I am Elena Corradina. I teach museology and restoration in the University of Modena and Reggio Emilia. I am the coordinator of the Italian University Network and the delegate at the Rector University Conference in Rome for our University Museums.
Delphine?
Hi, everybody. I'm Delphine Issenman, and I'm a colleague of Sébastien. I'm collection manager at the University of Strasbourg, working for the Jardin des Sciences.
You, Carmen?
Okay, I'm from São Paulo, Brazil, from the University of São Paulo, a small cultural center. I'm educator. Collections for me are for showing, explaining, mediating, and
Okay, thank you. Gilbert?
Hi, everybody. I'm Gilbert Nicolau from Lebanon, and I'm at the Lebanese University in Beirut. I'm a museology student and a history of art teacher.
Jill? Jopi?
You guys are making it very hard to eat lunch. I'm sorry. I'm like all of you, I have wall-to-wall Zoom meetings all day, so I do apologize. I'm Jill Dupy. I'm at the Low Art Museum, University of Miami in Coral Gables, Florida. We're an encyclopedic museum, an art museum, which has about almost 20,000 objects that span 5,000 years and represent every inhabited continent.
Thank you. And George?
My name is George Mattox. I'm from the Federal University of São Carlos at Sorocaba, Brazil. And I'm responsible for the vertebrate collections, but this is just a teaching collection.
Jeffrey?
Yes, hello. Jeffrey Yoshimine, Deputy Director for Exhibitions, Collections, and Facilities at the Yale University Art Gallery.
Jess?
I'm Jess Castellote. I'm the director of the UMAC-ICOM Museum of Art at Pan Atlantic University in Lagos, Nigeria.
Silke?
Hello, I'm Silke Ackerman. I'm the director of the History of Science Museum in Oxford, which is one of the 4 university museums there. And like everybody else, we're thinking about reopening.
Melanie?
Click the right thing is good. So I'm a colleague of Silke. I'm a collection assistant at the History of Science Museum in Oxford.
Thank you. John?
Oh, hi. I'm John Wettenholm, director of the George Washington University Museum in Washington, D.C. We have a global collection of about 25,000 textiles from around the world and a History of Washington collection as well. And I'm on the faculty of the Museum Studies program at GW.
And sorry, Lisette.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lisette Saldivar, and I work as a leader of artistic heritage at the Tecnológico de Monterrey in Mexico City. But I'm in charge, in the complete university. We have 22 campuses all around Mexico. So we have around 1,800 pieces of art, mainly Mexican modern art.
Hi.
Margarida. Almeida. Margarida. Are you with us? Okay, so my screen just all turn around, so I'm not sure now who people I missed. Suzanne, did I? Yes. We can't hear you, Suzanne.
Okay, you hear me? I'm Susan from Brazil. I work at the Fashion Museum, which we call Museu da Moda de Belo Horizonte. And the museum is not open yet, and the collection is a textile collection. So we are studying the ways to reopen the museum after this period of the pandemic. And I attend the educative sector also.
Okay.
I am conservator. Okay.
Tatiana?
Good afternoon. I'm from Brazil, São Paulo. I work at Museum Paulista. It's a university museum of history. I work at documentation archive story. And the museum are closed since 2030 for reforms.
So Tatiana, the museum was already closed when the pandemic hit, right? So.
Right.
Okay. Josiane? You're mute, Josiane. You have to unmute your...
Hi, hello. I am from Brazil, but I live in Lisbon now. And I work at the Federal University of Ceará.
Okay. I think we've seen everyone. Laura, did I?
I think not. I think Laura is missing.
Okay, Laura.
I am Laura. As I say before, I am in Curitiba, in Brazil. I am teacher of the Department of Anthropology, and I work too in the Museum of Archaeology and Ethnology of the same university. So that's it.
Okay.
Only Margarida, Sébastien. Margarida Almeida, maybe she can now introduce herself, because I think we skipped that. Oh, I think Margarida, are you there? No, she's not. Okay, maybe later.
Okay, I suggest we move on. So the idea will be to it's good because we have lots of countries, and we also have lots of typology of collections, and I think this we may be aware that collection is very interesting. We also have an educator, so it might be also interesting to get the view of reopening and what can we do with the collections also. Let's start with United States, maybe. Jeffrey, maybe if you want to tell us about the art gallery.
So we are in a wait and see mode right now. We haven't. There was a state of Connecticut directive that allows museums to open beginning on the 20th of June. I think the university is taking a slightly more conservative view of opening the galleries to the public. We haven't decided yet whether students will be returning for in-person classes in the fall. So a lot of our decision making will rely on the university's plan for students returning to campus. Regardless of whether students return or not in the fall, the likelihood of us opening back to the public, probably late fall at the earliest, is what the realistic thinking is in terms of reopening to the public. We are taking a number of public surveys to our public and to our community to see what the temperature of the community is, whether people will feel safe returning to the galleries. We are considering a number of different kinds of measures, all the way from, sanitation stations to possibly timed entry, limiting the number of people that we let through the door at any time. We think that the kind of high-risk areas will be in the lobbies. Once people are in the galleries, if we control the number of people we're letting through the door, we think once they're in the galleries, we can maintain the kind of social distancing that both the state and university require. So really, we're kind of being very conservative, and there's even a likelihood that we may not reopen to the public until students return in the winter, in the next calendar year. We are doing things in the gallery. We will begin doing things in the gallery beginning in August to support online learning, which took up the bulk of our instruction. The art gallery plays an instrumental role in the use of the collection for education, and we are continuing to use objects from the collection in a virtual way. So we are creating work teams consisting of an art handler, a registrar, an educator, and a videographer to be able to conduct virtual object study sessions, which is a big part of fulfilling our educational mission. So that's kind of where we are right now. Kind of wait and see. No firm plans for opening date. Looking to other institutions, other authorities for guidance in terms of how we can do that safely, which is one of the reasons why I'm attending this webinar. I think that Europe is maybe a little bit ahead of us in terms of reopening and trying to get some anecdotal feedback about how that's going, what kinds of plans are being instituted in Europe, and kind of we're kind of in an information gathering mode right now.
All right, thank you. So maybe we can
Sébastien,
yeah.
Maybe I can just add a comment that resulted from this morning's webinars. Okay, so we have these two session. This webinar, in fact, is divided into, and the morning one had a lot of Asian university museums, and one of the things that was mentioned there was the role of students as a drive for reopening collections. So you have kind of PhDs going on, and students need access. And as soon as the university opened the possibility of having laboratory, teaching, because it's like in physics or whatever, you need really to do some experimental work. Some universities consider the access to collection as part of that, experimental work where you really need to engage and handle objects. I was wondering for Jeffrey, but also for the others, of course, if students, the fact that collections are being used for PhDs and postgraduate or graduate or whatever studies has been a drive or a pressure to reopen collections.
Jeff, you want to answer that?
Yes, certainly. Yeah, we are timing our planning based on the return of students to campus, and it's possible that the reopening, if the return to campus happens in the fall, late August, early September, it's quite possible that we would open the gallery for object study use by students only. We haven't had to make that kind of a decision yet, but really so much of our mission is about supporting the work of faculty, art history faculty and other faculty across campus. So yes, I in answer to your question, I think that the student return is really a key milestone in terms of how we think about reopening.
Okay, maybe Jill, do you want to tell us about what's going on in Miami? Do you have a plan for reopening? Did you reopen already, or?
Oh, no. It's very similar to what's happening with Jeffrey and Yale in New Haven. We have been working, my entire team has been working remotely since March 16th, when the University of Miami suspended all operations on campus. We were just very recently released from our county, from our shelter in place order. Businesses have begun to reopen as of last Monday. Unfortunately, because of the reopening, and also, of course, we have the protests in the United States at the moment and elsewhere. But we're seeing already rates of reinfection on the upswing. So we are all watching and waiting with bated breath. I am not particularly optimistic about the fall. We do have a phased reopening plan. And again, like Yale, and I suspect many other colleges and university museums here in the US, our phased reopening plan is tied very closely to the academic calendar. Currently, UM is scheduled to resume operations for the fall semester on August the 19th, which is when we would reopen our galleries just to our faculty and students. And then we would have, open up to the general public on September 1st, but in a very, very different way. We would have, of course, maximum capacities, advanced online booking will be required. We are going to be required to wear masks, probably like everybody, for a very long time to come, and things like that. The one thing I don't want to say happy about, but we are waiving admission for the foreseeable future, at least for the coming fiscal year. I think that that's something positive. We are doing it both to frankly have one less point of contact, one less transaction between visitors and our visitor service desk, but also I think it's more importantly the right thing to do. Now is the time to be stepping up and really serving our campus and our community, not trying to get $12.50 from each visitor that comes through the door. So yeah, I mean, it's fluid. It's fluid. I know that the university is looking at a variety of alternate models, which include compressing the semester once you have arrived back to campus, because it is mostly a residential campus. You will not be allowed as a student to return home until November, when we have our Thanksgiving break. So they would really accelerate and compress the semester to try to keep travel and the transmission of the virus at a minimum. So yeah, not a lot of clarity, but we are working to a August 19th soft reopening.
Okay, and maybe John, do you have the same position, or?
It's similar in that we will focus on students and faculty. We're aiming for the middle of August to make it accessible for them. We are not very anxious to open to the public. Our situation is maybe different from others in that we're very close to the Smithsonian Institution, the National Gallery, and so there are other public museums. The city doesn't need us to be open. The one thing that's been interesting and where we as a staff have really changed is that our audience has learned how to go online. 3 months ago, the older people who would come to the museum, the many people who supported the museum were not accessible via the computer. And now they've learned how to come online. So we are focusing a lot of our programmatic attention to online programs and also online curatorial content that we can put out. So I'll give you one example and then be quiet. There's a program that used to go on at the museum for many decades of Rug Saturday Morning. It's when people from the State Department bring in fabrics they've collected from their travels overseas. They tell people about it, and it's a program for an hour or an hour and a half. And normally 30 people come, maybe 40. They all come and they look forward to it. We did our first online Rug Saturday Morning last week, and we had 250 people. A lot of people in Los Angeles were in, and people around the country joined in, so that there's the potential of reaching out to new audiences. Particularly, we're different because we're a focused collection and there are enthusiasts of that, but there's at least opportunities that we're really trying to think through carefully. How can we expand our offsite audience and serve them in a good manner? And it's been exciting to try to work through that as a staff.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a session next week. The next webinars will be on online initiatives, and we can see that we were all, forced to go online and try to figure out how can we get connected with our audiences. And we also discovered that it could be an opportunity to get some new audiences also. But I was wondering, would you say that this online thing would be one of the impact of your collection policy within the museum, in the sense that if you have to think, or what would be the impact of the COVID on your collections policy? Because that was one of the other questions.
From our point of view, the fundamental challenge of our collections is that textiles are sensitive to the light. We don't have a permanent collection all the time. And we're frustrated in that for 25,000 objects, it's very hard to allow the public to see all these works. We're doing online collections and these kinds of things. But the thought of actually activating and programming works that otherwise would be in storage is an opportunity for us. And we have to think very creatively on how we can create more curatorial programs of relevance. But we are looking now at online curated content, and on a theme, on a subject, and maybe bringing some of this, and also online content before the in-person exhibit comes out, not only to put it forward, but also to listen to audiences and to have a curator listening session where we get experts from other places or the public to tell us their interests. So we're trying to flip the model to see how can we listen. How can we use the technology to listen, not just present?
Thank you. And Christine, maybe are you also in the same position of waiting for reopening? And
yes, we seem to be on a similar schedule. As of now, the university is planning to bring back students for fall in person. And so we will do a phased reopening in line with that schedule, which will be in late August.
All right, thank you very much. So I was just wondering about the United States, because you also have a very strong national networks regarding University Museum and Museum AMG. Do you have any guidance? Do you have any discussions and help from this kind of national network? Anyone from the United States want to answer this question? Yes, Jill, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, there have been endless Zoom meetings with AAMG, AAMD, AAMC, AAM. It's all very good. It can be a little bit bit overwhelming. But I do just want to remind everybody who's on this call that AAMG is kicking off its virtual conference. John Wettenhall, help me if you remember the kickoff date. I know it runs for 2 weeks, a few hours each day, but it may be something you wish to check out. The registration is very modest. It's $40 US, and there is a hardship scholarship fund as well for those who find themselves unemployed at the moment. But I do encourage you to check that out because there are a lot of resources. There are also a tremendous number of resources online. Every organization that is involved in this, and I think that's every organization, has been compiling documentation and resources. So there are a tremendous number of resources out there, and most have taken, realizing how much information there is, most have taken that material and put it in one spot, on a page, on a landing page devoted to COVID-19 on their institutional website. So I would encourage you, if you're looking for more resources, to look at the key organizations, including AAMG above all right now.
Okay, thank you very much. Shall we go down to Mexico, if we're going down to the south of America? Colleague from Mexico, is she still there? Lisette?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
I am. Well, yes. Actually, we are in the middle of the problem. No, we don't have any. We don't have the date for our students to go back physically. We have been working virtually. We just fortunately this arrived when we made like a different program, which is a complete educative model that we began to have virtually. All of the classes, some of their classes of our students were virtual, and so in this pandemic, we just took that way of learning and teaching. So all of our classes during the complete semester have been virtual, and our collections more or less are the same as all of the others colleagues. They work for the students. They are there for our students to use them for classes, for research, or for making some curatorial projects. And actually, we don't have a physical space to exhibit our collections. We have our collections, some of them are in some places in all around the campus, but some of them are just preserved. No, but actually we were trying to achieve the digitalization of our collection because we haven't finished yet. Besides art, we have historic documents and archives, which some of them were digitalized, and they are actually in the repository. I don't know how to say that. Is it okay in English, repository? So we were in that action of achieving that, but we didn't have the money, so we asked for a donation, and fortunately we received a donation just at the beginning of the pandemic. And so we just stopped somehow. No, we were organizing our information and all that, and we haven't been able to arrive again to our campuses to make this registration physically. No, we have been working with some academic projects with the architecture and art department, and with the humanistic and education faculty to make virtual projects for students in order to help somehow to achieve the combination or the participation of our students with our collections. But we don't have any date exactly when we are going to go back. Actually, we depend a lot of what government says, and they are hoping that around September we can go back like little by little, and probably we have to combine with our students virtual and physical classes. Well, I don't know if you know about the Tecnológico Monterrey, but it's, let's say, the second most important institution in Mexico. And the Tecnológico Monterrey, it's a private university, and it has a very clear intention to promote the collections for the people, because we have had the collections inside the institution and just taking care of it. So we haven't had the opportunity to expose them that much as we would like to for the people, no, for everyone.
Okay. Okay. So, but how do you? So you mean you don't have any access to your collections at the moment because you're outside?
At the moment, we don't.
So do you have? Do you know how do you control the collections? Do you know if there is any problem? Do you have any information about if the collections are okay?
Well, yes, we have them very well organized and well checked up by the people that are in security. The security members of the campuses have, let's say, like a paper with, where we say what and where are these collections, and so we are checking. We have had virtual meetings to talk about it, and we were talking about even a restoration of a piece because it has been damaged, and even we don't have. It's a sculpture that it's monumental, so it's outside, and we don't have students, so we can use this time while we don't have students to make the restoration. So we're working on that with the security people or of the campus.
Okay, thank you. So now I suggest we pick up two colleagues from Brazil. Marcelo, for instance, would you like to say something? Because you were about to tell us everything, so now you can express yourself.
Oh, okay. In Porto Alegre, the museum is closed. The access to the collection is normally is possible, and have problem because the systems, the temperature control and the humidity control is off. Only one people for one time week go to the room for look. And I don't have data loggers or other systems for control. And then I'll close. Now stood the guidelines for reopen, but don't have the data for opening. And two times, two forms, for the general public and for the research. The museum have 10 EURECAP 10 people and academics, but it's problem, no work, no can return in the moment. You understand?
Yes. Okay. George, would you like to tell us about your collections and your teaching collections?
Yeah, sure. Well, our teaching in Brazil is basically remote by now. So we're teaching undergrads remotely. This is just started this week. So every faculty, everybody in faculty are doing this online courses to teach remotely. But my main concern is about the graduate students because they have deadlines and they have grants that will finish. So recently in Brazil, most of the agencies that finance, like the CNPq and FAPESP, they gave a little extra of 2 months for every student. But those 2 months obviously won't be enough, right? So we are trying to see how can we reopen at least for these students to go to the labs and look at the material, because I work with fish, with zoology, so I need, you know, the students, my students need to go into the lab and look at the fish under the skull. So that's actually a bit of a problem that we're trying to cope right now. But yeah, most universities are down, are closed.
Yes. That's why maybe I suggest, because we are not in the same vague of COVID. I think Europe entered before, and we know that America is still right on it. So there's still lots of uncertainty about what's going on and when it will reopen. Whether in Europe we started to we stopped the lockdown and we started to have reopening plans. Some of us have already reopened. So maybe I can go to Europe now and ask Silke from the University of Oxford. What about the History of Science Museum in Oxford?
Thank you, Sébastien. Well, we have the now very dubious record in the UK of having the highest death rate in Europe, which is horrific and shocking to all of us. And at the same time, the lockdown is being opened or reversed at a speed which is worrying to many. And we're trying to find our feet somewhere in the middle between that. The university's been thinking both about return to on-site working for staff and, of course, return of students. We have been doing online teaching, or rather recorded teaching, which is not the same, all term. And there is the plan to have a mixed approach from the autumn onwards, which is the case for many institutions. As far as the collections are concerned, the university has a huge estate, and of course there is a bit of a scramble. Who comes first? Who is allowed to open up first again? We are only allowed to do that with approval from any number of risk assessments, which I'm sure you're all doing as well, from the estates department. And that's we hope that this is going to happen later in June. And the plan to open for the public again, I've just had confirmation, is early October. The Ashmolean Museum, the biggest museum, is going to go first in late August, and then Natural History and Pitt Rivers in September. So much, much later than we had hoped. And of course, part of that are the site specifics. If social distancing isn't possible, then it's extremely difficult. In terms of checking the collections, you asked that, Sébastien, we have a rota of one person going in once a week. That's all we're allowed to do. To check that the building is okay, but that of course doesn't allow us to do any proper checking of objects.
And because we were all surprised by the announcement of the University of Cambridge that they're gonna reopen the university online the first semester in Cambridge. So do you think in Oxford they're gonna reopen to the students, or?
Well, Cambridge hasn't been quite accurately reported in the news. They're talking about large seminars, not all the teaching. But of course, that was picked up as Cambridge is going online. No, of course, they are as keen as everybody else to get the students back in, not least because that's one of the main income factors for the university. And if the students don't come back, then life is going to be a very, very different thing. A major financial impact, as I'm sure is the case for all of you, which is going to have an impact we've been calculating for at least the next 5 years.
Thank you. Our colleagues from St. Andrews just joined us a bit later, so it might be also interesting to get some view from Cathy. Hi, Cathy.
Yeah, I'm here with a glass of wine. It's been a long week. But we're in a very strange position because we were 2 weeks away from opening a museum when we locked down. So we have the added complication of having to try and make sure we can complete that project, that none of our contractors have gone bankrupt, and that we can still finish and open. We're still working through all of that. A bit like Zilka, we're working out the practicalities of social distancing. I think like lots of people, we're also doing really rapid digitization and developing tools for teaching online with the collection. So yeah, it's exciting, but it's kind of exhausting, but we're getting there.
All right, good to know. So if we're going further in Europe, Spain, maybe, Isabel? You have to unmute you, remember?
I won't add much. You say it's the similar situation, but we are preparing. What we have done now is we are closed. The university is closed, but we are doing technical work. We are checking the collections. We're supervising the spaces because we have a catastrophic event the other day, so we have to prepare for emergency because we couldn't go into the buildings. We had the museums and collectors in different buildings, but we had an exhibition. We had to let the exhibition on. So next week we're gonna go and take it down because we have to return the works of art to their original places. But we're working. It's close with the Institute for Conservation, for Heritage Conservation, the Spanish one, and the Ministry of Culture. So we think that we have to have the same policy, although we are at the university. So what we're preparing now is an online course on preventive conservation for the directors and the staff for the museum. So because we're preparing that for before this pandemic, and we were gonna do it in the collections, in presence, but now we have to prepare that online. We are doing that. We have meetings for to offer this course first for the staff in our university, and later too it will be open to other students. And the thing is that the practical work we will do it on site on one of the collections. Our problem, as happens in many universities, that the directors or people in charge of the museums don't. I mean, they are, they scientific or they are professors, but they don't have much expertise on conservation. So we're working on that, and we're gonna give the basic tools so they can manage their collections. And we are preparing for September. Probably now we are close. The researchers are back. They were eager to go back to their laboratories and the faculty. So from this last Monday, they're back in their faculties and their research institutes, and many some of the staff are back too, but in museums only technical workers are working the collection. As I think Silke said, we were doing the checking the collections, we're doing the assessment of the conditions, and probably we will open only 4 museums in September. And we will work on the technical stuff and the other ones. We are working also in the online activities. We have done a lot of that. We are really challenging because we haven't done before. We have a really good thing going on the International Day of Museums, and was a really, really challenging thing. So we're gonna go in this direction, but as all the museums. And as somebody says, many of the public has connected online, especially we were working with the elderly university, the University for the Elderly, so they really respond better than the other students, I would say. I mean, they really adapted to the situation. They have been, they are helping us with this transition to offer things to all kind of public.
Thank you, Isabel. Maybe we can hear from Germany and Kirsten, because Germany is our model on the
Oh, is it?
on the management of the crisis.
Yes, I think in that regards, we really got lucky, and assumingly the measures been taken, yes, have been really fruitful and successful. So we're really grateful for that. As for the university, of course, it was closed down completely. There is to say, for our office, we're not a museum itself. We have we're sort of smaller collections that are all over the place, and we do have an exhibition space and a permanent exhibition space and a larger space where we can show other kind of exhibitions twice a year, which is in the middle of the Electrotechnical Institute. So when we closed down, basically, of course, everything was closed down. We were supposed to opening up our new exhibition in April, which of course didn't happen. And the situation was rather unpredictable at this time, because clearly we couldn't go and everything was closed. Now things have been, have moved on a lot. So we still on remote work, but we can decide to come in the university. And of course, we have to take all different kinds of hygiene and security measurements. We postponed our exhibition to September. We had to hand in sort of a plan to how to do this, how to manage the visitors, how to manage the hygiene problematic and all those kind of things. And it looks like we can actually do that. So we will be sort of start to work with the public again, basically in fall. And that's really a good thing. The university itself was opening up rather quickly for laboratory work, I think already 3 weeks ago or so. So that was good. And the collections, they have been opening up for like, a single person who wanted to go in and to do something. That was fine, but not for, a group of people. So, and I think every single department, every professor decided to do it kind of as they thought, it would be, it would work out along the Corona guidelines that our university had. So, yes, I think I must say I'm rather sort of grateful, because we're not in the worst situation, and there are many countries and universities and museums especially that have been hit really, really hard. Clearly there's to talk about money as well. So if it stays like that, or if you're going to have the same funds or not. But so far it has been okay. So we'll see how it's going to be in the fall. Yeah.
Okay, so of course we are running a bit late, but I suggest, if Marta allow me, to maybe ask Elena from Italy, and then our colleagues from Africa. So we will have a word round, and I would like to say something afterwards, because we're going to reopen in a few weeks. So I just want to tell you that we decided to reopen. And it's going to be very soon. So maybe I can share that with you afterwards to close. Okay, Elena, Italy, how's it going?
Okay.
We also had were stricken very badly by the COVID in Italy.
Yes, so the Italian situation is different, because it's depend from each university, as you know. I think that the little university, like Modena, the little medium university, which haven't any structured opening for the museums, because like in my university, in other university, the museum are open under pre-notation, or are open under pre-notation of a lot of school for educational activities. So in my university, for example, we are closed, but also the university is closed only for a few people, because a lot of work is from home. Our lesson didn't start in September, because also from September to December our lesson will be only online. Also, only few laboratories, this is a real problem, are open today or are opening to September. So we have a lot of different problems that are not depending from the museums. Some people, people can go in particular in a zoological museum to check the conservation, sometimes one time a week, for example, but we don't know when we can reopen and which not. But I think that this problem is only for my university, because we have a big project for a reassessment of our museum in a building where the restoration will start till now. I think that our rector, our dean, will think that our museum can reopen there after this reassessment of this ancient building, and so perhaps we don't open in a few time our museum, because also this reassessment that we have, but we are doing. So.
Okay, so you are still waiting for more information and to finish the reassessment, as you said.
Yes.
And of course, you have to get the permission from the university, if I understand well, also.
Sorry?
You have to get the permission from the university.
Yeah. Yes, from the dean. For us, only the dean will decide with our administration council.
Yes.
So we have a lot of problems now.
Jess, maybe. What about your situation? Hi, Jess. Share with us.
Well, while some of you are on the way down of the curve, we are on the way up. Yesterday we had a new record. Every day, unfortunately, we have a bad new record. There is no clear indication of where we are going, whether this is going to be serious or not. Some people are talking that we may not reopen this year. So in the museum, we are trying to see how we can continue being relevant to the society. We cannot offer some things, but what else can we do? It's not just simply move the physical to the online, but what else can we do as a museum? What else can we offer as a museum? First, to the university environment, the university community. Unfortunately, they are about to start exams. So between now and the middle of July, students are not available for anything. If it is dark, it's because once again, the electricity has gone. So the only light I have at the moment is the one reflected from the computer. We have challenges here. We have electricity sometimes and we don't other times. Okay, it has come back. So we are working on programs, activities, trying to create resources that could be useful to the schools when they resume. both digital but also printed. We are now trying to see whether we could create new programs. So we are reinventing ourselves. We are not stopping. This is the way it is. We are not going to stop. We have to see how we can continue being relevant and offering something to everybody. So that's where we are.
Okay, I think that we really have to deal with lots of uncertainty. And that's probably also how it goes with this pandemic, that we can't really, it's very hard to get some big plan when there's still lots of uncertainty about the general organization. As I said, maybe I can say a few words about France because it seems to be a bit different. We also share maybe the same step with Marta. So in France, the lockdown was ended mid-May, on the 12th of May. And small museum could reopen at that time. We didn't really know what was small museum, how it was defined. But we were not ready to reopen yet because parks and gardens were closed. So it means that there's lots of different local situations that if you're a museum but you're in a park, and we were in the university garden, so we were considered as a garden, a closed garden, then we were closed because gardens were not open yet. So the gardens reopened on the 2nd of June, which make it possible for us to think about reopening. We were very much encouraged by the university to reopen whatever we can reopen. And so we choose to reopen one of our museum, which is the Seismological Museum, because it's very easy to get access to that museum because you don't have to enter a university building to get to the museum. So for us, it was obvious that this museum, if we have to open one museum, it would be this one. So we worked with the Department of Security, of Hygiene, and also the medical department of the university, just to work with them to make sure what should be the condition of reopening in terms of number of visitors, in terms of what do we have to block anything, what shall we do with the air, with the circulation of the air within the building. So there's lots of consideration that has to be taken into account, as you know. So we started to write an opening plan. Of course, it's in French, but I will be very happy to share it with you for those who can speak French. So we can share this kind of documents as a reopening plans. We also decided to reopen the planetarium, which is even more a challenge for us because it's very close area. So for that, we have to wait the reopening of the movie theaters, and it's going to be late of June. The next step for us, for France, will also be mid-June, when if the how do you say that, emergency state, sanitary state is stopped, because at the moment we have a special emergency situation by the state, which obliged each institution to get some procedure, sanitary and safety procedure. So they might ease also all those procedures by the mid-June. So we will readjust. So we have some rules for reopening now, and those rules might change also in 1 month. So we will readjust. The last thing I would like to share with you, and is that we also very much encouraged to offer student jobs, because probably we will not be able to offer educative activities. So most of the job of the people there will be to welcome the public and assure the safety of the public and the sanitary. So we also consider it to give a call to the students and have them on board to help us to reopen some of the collections. So we're working on that at the moment, and it's a strong huge from the rectorate to have students participating, and also it's a kind of social and political mean to help the students. We are confronted to social difficulties and financial difficulties to provide them with job opportunities, and also because some of the students didn't have the chance to do an internship. So for us, it might be also an opportunity for them to get this kind of professional experience in a museum. So that's what we are doing at the moment and what we're working on. So the museum, we plan to reopen the Seismological Museum end of June, and we will reopen the Planetarium mid-July. I think, except if anyone want to share something with us, specific information like I just done. Otherwise, it will be time to close this session. If you want to say something, just unmute you and say something. Okay.
I think we are already far beyond the time allocated for this, and I'm mindful of the, everyone has to work. Well, it's Friday afternoon in Europe, but don't forget that the people in the US are still working. It's still time for them to. So no, I wanted to, well, first of all, thank so much, Sébastien, for your thoughtful and balanced moderation. I think we all learned a lot. And thank you all for participating, both orally and in our chat. The chat is also very rich. I'm also grateful to the University of Lisbon for letting us use this Zoom platform. And next Friday, we will host the third webinar of the UMAC post-lockdown series, this time devoted to going digital. I feel that there's going to be a lot of ideas, a lot of innovation in the University Museum field that we want to share and know about, because, look, we may not be prepared, but we have the university behind us. And so there's lots of good experiences about how to use the infrastructure, including the Zoom infrastructure and so on, to reach out to different audiences, including actually creating new audiences. So that webinar will be moderated by Roland Wietje in the Asia section. We call it Morning in Europe. And then the one equivalent to this hour will be moderated by Jill Dopey from the United States. Roland Wietje is in India. So if you want to participate, either on Zoom, you go to UMAC, you go to our website, umac.icom.museum, and all the information is there. Or you can also follow the webinar on YouTube. It's a new channel, so subscribe. like those videos, cooking videos. No, okay, now subscribe to our channel and switch on the notifications to be informed of new videos and live events. And I think that's it. Thank you so much, Sébastien. Thank you all for being here, and see you next week.